It's nutrition for mum and the whole family, and this is a really, really important one. One where you may have felt like you have tried in the past to fix your nutrition or to implement a nutrition program, and it hasn't quite worked, or you feel like you've failed in these attempts. And I can tell you that it's not that you have failed, it's just that the programs in the past that you have tried haven't gone into factoring the fact that you are a family and that you are a mum, and it's not sustainable for you to be cooking separate meals. I know from experience because I've done both sides. So I do pride myself in eating what my kids eat and cooking up for all of us, not just myself, or not just for the kids and I eat like whatever scraps later. I do pride myself on eating everything that the family eats. And I've done the other side of it too, though, where I've done phases of 12 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever, where I have had to eat something completely different and very restrictive, and it hasn't worked, and it was a total nightmare, and it was really, really stressful for the entire family, and including myself. No fun, no joy, and it's just not great for the. It's not sustainable. No. Yeah, is what I'm trying to say. And so that is the reasons why in the past you may have tried a nutrition program and it hasn't worked and it hasn't stuck, and you've just thrown your hands up in the air and said forget it, and it's because it hasn't been a sustainable approach. So this is still me, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we're going to start talking about getting the family involved, because
that's the number one thing that you can do here is to get the whole family involved, and that's the missing link from other programs before, and why this is so unique, and it's not exactly a program as such.
Most programs focus their attention on what to eat rather than how you actually eat it, how you get the food from the supermarket onto the plate, and have the whole family involved and okay with the process, because the last thing you want is mum's on another diet again.
Mum's on another diet again, and believe me, I've spoken to mums that have teenagers, and that's what they end up saying. They end up saying, "Oh, mum's just on this another health kick again." But instead, we want to make sure that this is a lifestyle change, and that the whole family is on board with the process, including your hubby. And so here are some tips that we have to make sure that it is an enjoyable process for everyone, and mum doesn't lose her shit, and the family doesn't suffer, and you all get the benefits of it. So one of them is making decisions together. So getting out, when we provide the Cook Bible, get out the Cook Bible and research the recipes together. Get your kids to pick out a recipe. I've even got a really great idea from one of the mums that I know. Every Friday, she has 4 children, so every Friday one kid gets to take turns in picking a recipe. They all go shopping for it, they all have to contribute and cook it all up, and then they all have to try it. Right? So that's a fun sort of date night kind of thing with your family. And making sure that you all get involved in that and cooking up.
Yeah, you want them to own it, because we're going 100 miles an hour, and you probably are too. And as a mum, you probably don't have that awareness just yet to stop and take the time to involve them. But when you do, it makes fussy eaters so much easier. It makes the whole process so much
They feel like they're a part of the decision making, which is really, really powerful, because kids they can have a say too, and that's how you won't get fussy eaters, and then they'll pride themselves on that meal.
They'll be adults and have to make decisions one day. So.
Yeah, so they're going to be adults one day, and they're going to have to make those decisions themselves. So you're, even though it might feel like it's not working straight away, you will see the results, and you'll see those habits start to unfold years in the making. We're seeing that in Amira now, 9, nearly turning 10, and she's already identifying when she's had enough of like party food, and she's had enough of, she wants to go back to her old habits, and her routine, which is really, really powerful, because when she gets older, she's not going to, go off on the other end of the scale.
Yeah.
And another tip.
Engage them in age-appropriate tasks.
Yeah, so like chopping if they're old enough. I know that there's even like little toddler knives that are safe, just like scissors. You can get toddler safe or toddler appropriate knives that they can be in the chopping process. Even if they're not in the chopping process, like Logan I chop up and Logan grabs the stuff and puts it in the containers.
Yeah, and I remember when she was like 15 months old, we had our table in the lounge room.
Yeah.
She was watching telly and she had that little wooden knife.
Yeah, she had that wooden
and
set.
And I gave her a little bit of capsicum to just
play around and smash it up
Yeah, so getting them involved from a young age is really, really cool and important.
And age-appropriate tasks.
Appropriate.
And make sure that it's not overwhelming for you mums especially, and for the kids. So just kind of take a deep breath and think, it's going to be a mess, and it's going to take a little bit more time than it would if it was just you in the kitchen in front of the meals and they were in front of the television. Just think that this is precious time with your kids. So I now make going into the kitchen, spending time together.
Yeah.
And it can, you put the music on and you spend time together, and then it's a really proud process, and then they know what's in the fridge and they know what they can eat, and so and to be not overwhelming, and make sure that it's manageable, but it has to be consistent. So it's not just, mum's trying this out for a little while. This is something that regularly happens, just like brushing your teeth, just like getting dressed in the morning, just like reading books before you go to bed. This is another routine that you've started.
Yeah, and don't get him involved in the entire week's worth of cooking. Just choose one meal, maybe, just as Megan's mentioned.
Yeah, like a Friday night. Yeah. Or a Sunday afternoon,
do it when you have
chilling
time
out.
and you have patience.
Yes.
So the next part is the habit hacking. I think when people start any kind of lifestyle change, they look towards people of inspiration and see massive food preps.
Yeah. And that's like so overwhelming.
And it's overwhelming and stressful. But it's normal to look towards that and want to be able to do that straight away and think, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
I remember Beck came to us and said the one thing she didn't want to do was do a full-on cook-up on a Sunday and waste all of her Sunday in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So getting your habits that you currently have and hacking those habits. So what's a typical habit that a mum would have?
A typical habit that a mum would have would be going into the kitchen every night to cook dinner.
Yeah.
So if you're going into the kitchen anyway to cook up dinner because you've got to feed the family, how about going in there and cooking for more than just one meal?
Yeah.
So you've got, I'm sure you've got 2 lots of ingredients in there. You could be cooking dinner for them tonight, and then you could be making sure that you either cook double that batch, or you can do that as well as having a slow cooker on for lunches for the next few days for yourself. 4 to 5 days they can last in the kitchen, in the fridge for.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I know even cooking up for more than one at breakfast time, especially when you learn the art of making breakfast in 3 minutes, like a 3-minute omelette, or anything like that, or you've got something else already prepped, you can then be making an LM for morning tea, or so you can have it on the way to work, and then that can curb hunger pains and cravings because you've had 2 really great meals.
Yeah.
And I know that's a hack that I do all the time.
So these are the things you need to focus on. You don't need to focus on macro splits and grams
counting
of
anything.
protein and calories in this and
just
and
a
X,
few
Y, Z.
simple healthy recipes that we have provided. Just give them a go and try to women are amazing at multitasking. We have to be, and even if you can't multitask, or if you're doing something else, get your husband in the kitchen and say, can you do this?
Yeah.
while I do
Delegate.
that, please. Delegate, yeah.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you've got older kids. Can you do this while mummy does this? That'd be great, thanks, you know. And it's teaching life skills at the same time.
And the biggest tip that we can give you at the end of that process is to buy meal-sized containers, because food availability is 95% of the nutritional choice that you make. So
Yeah.
if you have a Chinese container with a fast, delicious, nutritious
Or if you've
meal
been
in
to
it,
multiple Tupperware parties and you've purchased them, then now's the time you can actually use them.
yeah. So if you've got those containers, fill them up with some fast, delicious food that you're going to want to eat, and they'll be there in the fridge. So when you do feel like something, you're not going to go to the fridge and there be nothing there.
And so then you pick at not necessarily the right.
Yeah, because it's
Types
all
of
of that
food.
uncontrolled eating that adds up. It's not the stuff you sit down and eat. It's the stuff you pick at. It's the stuff you go out of your way to get, like going down the shops, yada, yada, yada. So
Yeah.
making sure you've got meal-sized containers, and you fill those meal-sized containers up with all the leftovers from your breakfast, from your dinner.
Yeah, or
and
when you've cooked for more than one, pop
Yeah.
them straight in, and there's nothing better than going to the fridge, opening up, boom, straight in the microwave.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's a process. So in the beginning, you're probably used to cooking every night, right? So you're going to be cooking every night. But as you get better at this, you'll be able to cook up so that you get Tuesday night off, you know, and then
Yeah.
you'll get Thursday night off. And instead of
As
it
well.
being in the
Yeah.
kitchen, you might spend it outside being more active with
Because
kids.
you only have to simply heat it up because it's all ready to go.
And then
Yeah.
eventually, you know, you whittle that down so that rather than spending half an hour or an hour in the kitchen, that's an hour would be, you know, the typical time of that spent in the kitchen. So instead of spending an hour in the kitchen
Because you're
5 days a week,
You're like 10, 15 minutes or
and
something.
needing
and
a
then-
takeaway break at the end of the week,
Yeah,
you start
yeah.
to become more efficient.
Yes, definitely, and utilising your time more efficiently. And so, you know, which brings us to our next point in terms
last
of,
rule.
we just touched on the environment factor. So what is actually in the fridge and what is actually in the pantry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the most powerful thing you can do is a kitchen makeover. But for one reason or another, these kitchen makeovers can be quite daunting.
Oh, for sure. Very confronting. Definitely, when I first did it, it is quite a confronting feeling. You're owning it. You're becoming aware of what's actually in your cupboard, and you know what you actually do with the
Yeah.
stuff that's in your cupboard or in your fridge,
Yeah.
like picking and snacking.
What you
and-
don't need is someone to come in and rip the cupboard apart and
Yeah.
rearrange it for you. What you do need is you need to learn how to do these makeovers periodically. So what goes into a kitchen makeover?
So, for the first time, you may just want to look in your pantry and give it a good clean out. Stuff that you don't utilise a lot. Lot of packaged and processed foods. You know, if you lift right up into, you know, the top shelf, go right to the back and see what's at the back there. I mean, the first time we did it, we had Amira's lollies.
We collected
that
over various parties.
Yeah, over various parties. Like she'd come, you know, we'd come back with a bag of lollies, and we'd just sort of shove them up. Like she'd have some, and then you'd shove them up at the top of the cupboard. And so when the first time we did it, we discovered them. So I bet you'll find all sorts of things up the top of your back of your cupboard, and that's where we really started. We didn't
Yeah.
go extreme,
No.
and it doesn't have to be extreme either. But just becoming aware of that sort of stuff and shit that you don't need.
Yeah.
So you chuck it out. Tell yourself you love your family and you love yourself, and that you want to do what's best for your family, and start off slow like that. And the same as with the kitchen, as with the fridge as well. Pull out, you know, old sauces and mayonnaise and stuff like that. Chuck it in the bin if you don't utilise it a lot. Yeah, and then start fresh.
I'll give you a pro tip. Anything at eye level is generally what you'll eat all the time. There's where your
Yes.
staples are going to be.
Yeah.
If they're above or below that, chances are if it's above, you're going to have to go to a lot more effort than you would if you were going to go below. So if you've got like a baking shelf, put that baking shelf as high as you possibly can.
Yeah,
I know that
you don't have to get rid of it straight away.
Yeah.
You'll know when you're ready to get rid of
the
it.
baking shelf.
Yeah.
I mean, I struggled with that. We chucked out about $50 worth of baking flowers and stuff at one point.
And you do think of that, especially
Yeah.
in such a privileged country, you know, you think of waste, you don't want to waste it,
Yeah.
and money and all that kind of thing. So you'll know when you're ready for that time. But for now, yeah, just put all your baking stuff at the top of the cupboard and have the choices that are good for you and that you would make a lot at eye level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same as with the fridge as well. When you clean that out, you know, it's called a pillage, purge, and then replace.
So the main thing is replacing, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're not telling you to cut out any nutritional good foods. We're not trying to tell you to cut out everything and then have nothing in your life, ruining your life. We're saying just take away things that are not going to get you towards where you want to be, that healthier, more energetic and great looking mum bod out, and then replace it with better choices. So just a few better choices that you can go in at eye level and go, boom, yeah, I'm hungry, this is what I'm going to eat.
So the problem with food choice comes back to staples and treats. And I think the lines have been blurred quite a fair bit. So
because it's so available.
So available.
Yeah.
So you'll have sticking points, and the sticking points might be, you know, that little spot where the eggs go in the fridge. You might have little mini-sized chocolates in there. Other sticking points might be having a tub of ice cream in the freezer for the kids. Another sticking point might be a junk drawer that you have for the kids as well. Even a chocolate box that, you know, as a couple you know, raid once a night when the kids have gone off to bed. These are all very normal sticking points.
Yeah, sticking points.
And to address those sticking points, you need to have a kind of approach that isn't what's the word I'm looking for? Corporal. It's not a, you know, it's not, you're not going into
like all or none.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
You're not going into a bedroom and ripping it apart and doing the beds and like. When it comes to doing this makeover,
and then have a cry about it afterwards. It's gone.
With this makeover, you have to negotiate. So, if you want to get rid of ice cream from the house, you need to replace it with, "Hey guys, let's take the ice cream out and let's go out for ice cream once a week." So you're replacing it with a treat,
or even the desserts. We've provided desserts.
Yeah, well, you can replace
with these recipes. You can replace the ice
every
cream
night
with something.
one.
Yeah.
But I mean, kids love ice cream.
Yeah.
So do adults.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like a transition, isn't it?
Yeah.
You go from having that tub and if you have a tub of
and
ice cream...
imagine having that habit, like every night that you're going for that something sweet, and then you rip it and take it away. You've got to replace it with something that everyone's going to be like, oh, okay, well, we can try this. And that was pretty good.
I had one client and she took all the chocolate out of the house.
Yeah.
And then her partner was like, well, I want chocolate in the house. So they end up
That's
separating their fridge
Yeah.
so that the chocolate was down the bottom and that wasn't my client's part of the fridge, and it was just not sustainable.
Yeah.
So
that's no fun.
I suggested to take them out for dessert.
Yeah.
Chocolate dessert once a week, right?
Yeah.
And get the chocolate out of the house, and that's the kind of steps that you take towards eventually getting rid of it altogether.
Yeah.
And then replacing it with better versions. So that brings us to the end.
That's the